Hello everyone, and welcome back to Turkish Spotlight Secrets. Today's story is one of those rare moments when a polished public image gives way to a difficult private truth. At the center of it is Barış Baktaş, an actor whose rise has been fueled by steady work, quiet discipline, and a refusal to court scandal, and the name that suddenly rewrote the ending of an almost finished chapter, Yagmar Yakel. What began as a partnership forged on set has become the subject of intense debate after Barış chose to speak plainly about a choice most people would hide. He revealed that, standing just steps from marriage, he stepped back. Not with evasions or convenient timing, but with a sentence that landed like a bell. He met Yagmar, and everything he thought he knew about his next move changed. Let's start with the moment that sparked the headlines. It didn't happen on a red carpet. It wasn't designed for a dramatic teaser. It happened in the unguarded space of an interview, the kind where questions arrive without choreography and answers are either real or they are nothing. Asked about his personal life, Barış didn't pivot to work or flatter the question into a polite non-answer. Instead, he acknowledged the timeline that many had suspected but few could confirm. He had been in a serious relationship moving toward marriage. Families had met. Dates were being considered. Plans had the weight of real commitments and the warmth of shared futures. Then he met Yagmar on set, and a feeling he could not explain refused to be domesticated by an existing script. He did not romanticize the pivot. He described it as a conflict, one that embarrassed him, one that forced him to audit his promises, one that demanded more courage than the ceremony would have. He admitted to nights that stretched too long, to conversations with himself that were not flattering, to the kind of conscience that hurts because it is alive. He made a choice to tell the truth before it could become a lie. He ended an engagement in Alba paper, not with spectacle, but with a firm goodbye that tried to wound as little as possible in a situation where some wounding was unavoidable. That's the version that cannot be reduced to a gossip caption. It's not a fairy tale. It's not a villain origin story. It's a decision made by someone who understood that fidelity is not just a vow you speak at an altar, it is a posture you take before you ever arrive there. By choosing honesty in the uncomfortable present, he avoided betrayal in the memorable future. Many will disagree with the timing. Some will disapprove of the feeling that forced the timing. But the standard he claimed for himself was clear: if you cannot enter a marriage with your whole heart, you do not enter it with a fraction. The name that turned a generalized confession into a specific storm was, of course, Yagmar Yakel. Her connection with Barış began where professional connections often begin, in the corridor cluttered with call sheets, in the hours when the crew is resetting lights and actors pass the time with small talk that gradually becomes something else. Witnesses to their work on set speak, not of theatrics, but of ease, of two performers who didn't need to act at listening because they were already listening. That ease now reads differently to those who did not know the full context. But on set, it was still work, and both treated it as such. Boundaries were observed. Scenes were delivered. Days ended with a wrap, not with a broadcast. After the interview, the attention machine spun to life. There were the sympathetic comments praising the decision to be honest before it became a scandal. There were the condemnations arguing that calling off a near wedding is a harm that bravery cannot cancel. There were the neutrals asking everyone to remember that people make mistakes, and sometimes the only way not to multiply the mistake is to stop it where it stands. Social feeds filled with compilations, timelines, and speculation about what exactly changed and when. Through this, Yagmar remained quiet. No statements. No quotes. No attempts to weaponize the moment into marketing. That silence did not erase curiosity, but it set a tone: the conversation will not be driven by two people racing each other to the microphone. Let's slow down and examine what makes this story different from 1,000 others that come and go. First, there is the admission itself. Public figures rarely confess to the thing that complicates their image. They confess to resolved struggles, to rewritten scripts, to neat arcs. Here, the admission did not tidy the past, it exposed the messy method by which a future is chosen. Second, there is the insistence on clean endings. Barış emphasized that he did not attempt to hold two lives at once, that he did not test drive a feeling he wasn't ready to own. He ended one path before he stepped onto the other. That sequence does not absolve him of pain caused, but it does distinguish restraint from indulgence. Third, there is the willingness to accept consequence. He did not try to soften the blow with public relations fog. He did not ask the audience for permission. He gave an account, and he stood in it. What does this mean for his career? In the immediate term, the effect is paradoxical. Some viewers feel more connected to an actor who speaks in the register of real life. Others prefer the distance of pure performance. Producers and network executives are not immune to such currents. They can read sentiment, but they also read numbers. If the work remains strong and the rating steady, controversy tends to fade into a footnote. If the work falters, every rumor becomes a theory of decline. In that sense, the only reliable answer to reputational noise is the oldest one: show up prepared, deliver the scene, and let the screen decide. And what about Yagmar? The narrative wants her to move quickly, either to claim the story or to refuse it. She has done neither. That restraint is its own kind of communication. It suggests that she understands how volatile the present is and that the most dignified thing to do is to keep the temperature low. Friends describe her as measured, allergic to chaos, and uninterested in turning a private beginning into public currency. If the relationship with Barış grows, it will be visible without being announced. If it doesn't, there will be no autopsy. The work will go on. The person will go on. There is also a conversation to be had about the person who is not visible in this reporting, the former partner who had moved with Barış toward marriage. She is not a plot device. She is a person, and the most respectful thing to offer a person in pain is privacy. Barış's account carefully avoided naming her or relitigating private scenes. That choice matters. It keeps the line between accountability and spectacle intact. It demonstrates that truth, told correctly, can be specific without being invasive. For the audience that has followed these actors from episode to episode, the lesson in all of this is unfashionably simple. Real life does not obey the pacing of a series. It meanders. It interrupts itself. It requires choices that make no one happy in the short term and everyone safer in the long term. If you are going to love people's work, you have to allow for the fact that they are people, not characters. They will make decisions you wouldn't. They will draw lines you didn't see coming. Your job is not to approve. Your job, if you must have one, is to decide whether the work still moves you. And so, where does this leave us? It leaves us watching two artists try to be adults in a culture that rewards performance over patience. It leaves us considering whether a difficult truth told early is better than a beautiful lie told late. It leaves us with a relationship that may thrive because it began with a decision nobody finds easy to applaud, and with a career that may either absorb the turbulence or be sharpened by it. The next headlines will be about scenes, not statements, about premieres, not confessions. If the work deepens, this moment will become part of the mythology that explains the depth. If it doesn't, the story will be used differently, as a cautionary tale about timing and self-knowledge. Before we close, a word on how to follow this without becoming part of the problem. Resist the demand for evidence. Do not pull at the threads of strangers' lives to knit a narrative you were not invited to tell. Support the projects. Watch the performances. Let the private people be private. If and when Barış and Yagmar choose to share more, they will. If they do not, it will mean they have a better use for their time than satisfying curiosity. That, too, is a form of respect, for themselves, for the past they ended, and for the future they are building at a speed their lives can bear. Thank you for watching Turkish Spotlight Secrets. If you value coverage that treats real people like real people, consider subscribing, turning on notifications, and sharing this video with friends who prefer context over noise. We will keep following this story with the same care we ask of you, attentive to the work, cautious with the rumors, and ready to celebrate the choices that are made in daylight.